Blizzard strikes again. Turtle WoW was only the beginning. Oh, if only I got $1 every time that I prophetically, predicted these things from happening, right? And I told you guys this would happen. I said Classic Plus is coming, and the way we'll know it's coming is when Blizzard starts laying the axe and hammer down on these private servers. And look where we currently stand. Turtle WoW was just the beginning. So many more private servers now being attacked. Let's get a quick summary here, and I can legally break this one down for you guys of what's going on with all these private server takedowns here from Blizzard.
Turtle WoW was only the beginning. Blizzard's crusade just keeps going, and we now have more classic server shutdowns.
Oh,
but with
no.
that, we also have even more defiance. Meanwhile, then, Blizzard are funding their legal team with fun new things like this very expensive battle pet that technically costs $75, but there is a little bit more
Yeah,
to
we talked about this.
Then, in the actual game itself, incredible news, everyone. The longest quest chain of all time is finally over. But here's the thing. Blizzard forgot to put a reward on it.
Oh, no.
Okay. Here's the news. All right,
no.
so this is serious, simple, and helpful, and I'll get very straight to the point. If you've ever got spam calls, spam mail, or scam attempts,
we in an
the
ad
very
now?
basic fact
We are.
is that your data got into the offending party's hands somehow.
Yeah, if you don't know the history between me and the Turtle WoW store and everything else, I broke it down legally in terms of why the hell Blizzard's gonna, is gonna hamstring them to a point where it's not playable anymore, even though it could still exist on some server in Serbia. So he'll dig into that a little bit here, but it's like everything post that. All these other server takedowns, what it means for WoW going forward, what it means for private servers going forward. I got a lot to say about it, so after this ad, we'll get into it.
SP Virgin Media, where 900,000 customers' names, numbers, emails, and home
Sam is a
addresses
Blizzard
and more
lawyer.
were exposed for 10 months.
This
When
is
that
my
happens,
app for them.
The data gets in the internet. But where it gets real spooky is how, with the likes of that, and even semi-anonymous metadata, that can all be corroborated to basically build a profile on you. Now, you've got a legal right to get this stuff taken down, but doing so is a manual process that does not guarantee your data won't be reharvested. Incogni, quite simply,
It's
automates
Incogni.
all
Just
of
use the
that,
man's code.
and it
There's the ad.
continually rescans to keep your data down and put you on suppression lists. So to up your security, squelch down those annoying spam things and support the channel, check out incogni.com/Bellular Warcraft today.
There it
First,
is.
it was Turtle WoW. They ignored cease and desist letters, so Blizzard hit them with an utter legal nuke. A
Massive.
lawsuit that alleged Turtle was actually part of a criminal empire.
Yeah.
And they seemingly...
They hit him with a RICO. Which means, they're basically like a drug trafficking cartel, anything else. RICOs are used for organized crime, any sort of. So they're saying that these guys were running an organized crime ring by ripping off the copyright and then profiting off of it as well from Blizzard.
plan to destroy one American team member as their way in. Now, we thought that was a one-off. Turns out, no, it isn't.
nah.
That's because now, and with the genuine threat of legal action on the table, Blizzard are sending out more and more cease and desists. One team listened and one team didn't. Now, Everlook was a vanilla progression private server, and they folded immediately. In their statement, they said that the takedown proves something, that Blizzard are, quote, unwilling to accept that many people want to enjoy a World of Warcraft experience that they have failed to deliver.
Look, there's that. Okay, fine. You want to say that they never delivered Classic Plus? By the way, I'm like, yeah, sure, they didn't. They're going to. It's very obvious they're going to now. So nobody should be that disappointed about losing the server access to these private servers. But the other thing is, people don't just play private servers because, oh, thank you so much, it's the Classic Plus I've always wanted. They're playing it because it's free. It's free. And I saw this, the last time I said this, a bunch of people were commenting on my video saying, that's a lie. I play this because it's the version of the game that Blizzard refuses to make, and I don't care, I'd pay for. The truth is, if you want to count yourself as you are the exception. You are not the majority here. I promise you, and I would love to run this experiment just to prove these people wrong. If you attached a sub to Turtle WoW, $15 a month, I guarantee you their server population would get cut down by 80%. It's ridiculous to think that people don't play these things because they're free, too. That is a big factor for a lot of people. Most people are not going to pay $15 a month for anything beyond what Blizzard's offering. To say that that's not a factor here is absolutely ridiculous. We'll see if all the people who play Turtle WoW actually do pay to play Classic Plus.
But here's the problem. It was just a vanilla server, much like Classic Era. So that argument doesn't really hold as much water. Now, Turtle got credit for one thing, and that was a lack of visible RMT in botting. That's not true in all private servers. Even just a cursory look at Everlook shows RMT issues, plus a donation store for convenience items. So ultimately, they weren't offering a drastically different experience from Classic Era, not that that would matter legally, and, well, the financial side doesn't really look good. Anyway,
Right.
Everlook is shutting down.
They gone.
But the team that didn't fold, well, that's Project Epoch. Sort of. They are a promising-looking Classic Plus server, one that Turtle WoW actually felt threatened by, at least if these leaked screenshots are real. There's a lot of drama in the private server scene. Why would they feel threatened?
That's crazy.
Well, after the season...
Imagine ripping off content from somebody else and then being worried about the other team that's also ripping off the content that they're going to rip it off better than you. Yeah, it's funny. The private server scene's hilarious. And by the way, I also got called a Blizzard bootlicker. Guys, it's the freaking law. Somebody was like, oh, you shouldn't be able to stop people from doing this, just make a better product. Imagine that. Imagine we lived in a world where you put in all the work, you do all the R&D, you spend all of your money, you build this amazing product, and then somebody else can just take the foundation that you built, which is the hardest part. That is the most difficult part of making anything. Whether it's a game or a product or whatever, you put in all that work, and now somebody else can just take it, tweak it a little bit, and then resell it. How would that be fair? What kind of world do we live in if that's the case? I think some people just their hatred for Blizzard blinds them to the fact that this is, whether you like Blizzard or not, it's very easy to see that this isn't fair. People shouldn't be able to do this. Nobody's stopping Turtle WoW from going and making their own game. If they have the greatest ideas ever for an MMO, they can go make their own MMO. Oh, wait, they probably can't because they're not willing to put in the money, the time, and everything else that it would take to actually build an MMO from the ground up the way that Blizzard did. And yes, China, I see China in the comment. That's the problem with China. A lot of times, that's the problem with China. Why they can sell things at such a low cost compared to the U.S. is because they're ripping off U.S. R&D. By R&D, I mean research and development. You have U.S. companies a lot of times, or European, wherever, that are putting in a ton of money into building the foundation, and then in China, they just take it, rip it. They don't have to spend all the money to build it up because they stole somebody else's foundation, and now they can sell it at a far smaller price. A lot of times when you're selling a new product, you're trying to recoup the research and development that went into it in the first place.
Desist.
When you don't got to do that, you can sell it for cheap.
Is leaving the project. They are going to shut down everything that they, quote, are able to, like the website. But here's where it gets strange. They can't actually shut down the game. Why not? Well, whenever it grew massively at launch, their servers could not handle the demand.
I'll have to check that out,
Cadence. Ascension enters the picture. Ascension is the giant classless WoW project, and Ascension graciously offered to take Epoch in hand and handle server hosting. So, Ascension runs Epoch, and they are not going to stop. And their response was quite bold. They posted that they'll release existing content and that they will then build a new team to continue development. So that's a massive middle finger up to Blizzard, and it's all based on a full internal roadmap. But yesterday, players noticed something up, that their ping to the servers shot up drastically from the US.
Wow. It's exactly what I said would happen. Oh my God, that's crazy. Didn't I just say this about Turtle WoW? People were like, oh, but there's servers in Serbia, they're fine, or in Russia, whatever. And I'm like, you guys understand how the server tech works. It bounces off of other servers to get to you in North America. It's not a direct shot. If it was a direct shot, your ping would be really high. Hence the reason why if you join with like some not European, but like Australian player as a raid leader or something, your ping is super high because you're shooting all the way over there instead of bouncing where you're supposed to be. Yeah, crazy. I told you they're going to make these things pretty much unplayable. They're going to reach them wherever they can reach them. And by doing that, they're going to eliminate their websites, their PayPal accounts, their Discords, their everything else. It gets to a point where it's just not fun to play it anymore. Yeah, so nobody's
even
safe.
From Singapore, their ping was going up.
Pre-watch, no.
The servers were somewhere that
Pre-opinioned. I already knew this.
And perhaps now they are not, and that's responsible for their ping going up. That seems to be the case, at least for now. Of course, Ascension are massive, and they advertise publicly. That means they're almost certainly next in Blizzard's radar. But their problem is this. With such blatant unconcern towards the cease and desists, they're confident that they're immune to really anything that Blizzard can do. You know, jurisdiction and such. So we're going to have to see if Blizzard's legal team can find a way to crack them open.
Yeah.
just like they're trying to crack open Turtle by
Yeah.
targeting the people that they can target.
They're not just targeting the people. Like I said, they're targeting anything that sits in any service they are using that is located in a country that they can actually reach. So that includes like European Union countries, Europe in general, America, obviously. So if you're using a Discord, you're using a PayPal, you're using a website hosted on hosted by an American service provider, like all of these things, they can take them down. And then what? It becomes a shell of its former self. You know, that's a pun on Turtle WoW, shell and stuff. But it's no longer really accessible. Also, they will hit the servers where the pings are bouncing off from Europe and all that. So all that stuff disappears. Now you're playing a game basically where there's no outside communication beyond the server itself. There's no more. They destroy the sense of community. Right? So without a community and now this massive ping and everything else that's happening with this thing, it just becomes a much less enjoyable experience. You can still play it, but it's not what it used to be.
But considering Ascension can just build a new team to run Epoch, well, maybe the same, quote, illegal criminal enterprise allegation will carry the same weight. Or maybe Turtle, Ascension, and Epoch will just be permanent thorns in Blizzard's side. Either way, their legal team is going to need a lot of resources. And good news, Blizzard are farming sales. Ish. I say ish because, man, I really can't imagine just going and buying this thing overtly. Now, if I told you Blizzard were selling a $75 battle pet, you'd probably believe me. It's not quite that bad. Yes,
yeah, it's not exactly.
Getting close. Although, I think people...
Why, by the way, that bunny, if you spend $75 on the store, you get it. Is part of like you spent $75, here's a free pet kind of thing. That's how they're doing it. So it's not exactly $75 for that. But my only thing is, why didn't they make it look cooler? Why was this the design they decided to go with? It's like some kind of weird hybrid bunny. I don't know what this weird. Why would they could have made such a cool pet for this thing? It looks like a goat had fucked a bunny, maybe. Yeah, there's another animal, a capybara or something, kind of looks like this. Am I saying that right? Australians in the chat, I don't know. This it's just a weird animal. I don't know why they picked this as the pet.
Although I think people will have different opinions on this. So the Blizzard Gear Score is running a promotion for the next week, where they're offering the Scruffy Hornfell Snooter for free. Asterisks, only with eligible purchases of $75 or more. Now, there's different ways to look at this. The idea of having some sort of freebie thing whenever you spend a certain amount of money is completely normal in so many stores across the world. Obviously, though, with a game like World of Warcraft, it will be framed differently. It will be framed as a lot of money to ask from collectors. Now, you might argue that it's a good excuse to go and buy stuff from the Gear Score, and that's fair. But here's the frustrating part. I think we all know what's up here. Blizzard kind of knows full well that there are people who will buy whatever just to get the pet.
Yeah, it's
true. I
don't
think it's a particularly good experience, especially considering the very high price. And looking at costs in the store, it's quite clearly set at a specific price point. One that is slightly too high to just, buy the one item that you want. Most hoodies are $60, many smaller items are $30. So
it's just the typical thing. I mean, how many times have you been shopping online and you're like, oh, get to this number to get free shipping. And then you get to like just under that number and now you can't find like a pair of socks or something to buy to get you over. It's very difficult. So you end up kind of way overshooting the free shipping number. Yeah, it's such a standard practice in the industry.
Standard store practice. It's transparent, but obviously it does work. Now,
the math, people going to math it.
Item this way has definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. WoW had pointed this out, and they've even got an affiliate link to that store. They noted that it's more expensive than the actual Midnight expansion, and they're absolutely right.
Kind of
but
is.
I think what we're going to see is a continuation of things like this. Blizzard will be applying as much what I'd call standard business practice as they can. They'll try to go as far as they can without compromising the $15 a month thing that they've got going on with WoW. Because if they go too hard and that breaks, then obviously that will be bad for their bottom line.
Yeah, and look, the one positive to any of this stuff is that the WoW store does fund the ability for our sub to remain at $15. That's the truth. And I'm talking about 15 American dollars. I don't know what it is everywhere else in the world. I know it's gone up for some countries. But the $15 sub, $15 American, is maintained even with inflation and everything going on because they continue to make more money off the store. So if you want to put a positive spin on it, that's the one thing. Do I like the WoW store? No, I don't. Do I buy stuff off the WoW store? No, not really. I bought mounts for giveaways on stream and stuff, but I really don't participate in the WoW store.
Aside from that, expect more
That's
experiments,
about
be it
it.
things like this, be it the store bundles that were done along with Trader's Tender, and whatever is going to be coming next with player housing. Next, I've got something that we do not get as often as we'd like, and that is devs talking shop in public. So, Tom Ellis is a senior game producer on World of
19
Warcraft,
years.
and he worked his way up after starting
going
as a
20
game
years
master in
Blizzard.
2006. So, he knows his stuff, and he's been here for a while. And he posted this gigantic breakdown of why PvP servers are always doomed. It's fascinating. And the short version is
it's
that
about
throughout
faction
all of
imbalance?
World of Warcraft's history, PvP servers were
heard
never
about this.
fully balanced. And even when PvP realms would get lucky and end up close with a 45-55 split, it would never stick.
I did it. I did it. I played PvP servers all throughout, when they existed since vanilla WoW. And yes, there was always an imbalance. And then what happened was the imbalance gets exacerbated by the fact that people are sick of playing on their version of the imbalanced server, so they go to another imbalanced server. So I played Alliance. I think I was on Gurubashi for a while playing Alliance, and I was like, the fuck, like I can't, this server is like 90% Horde or something, so I'm gonna move over. I think it was Storm Rage, or God, what was the name of this Super Alliance server that I ended up going to? It was whatever it was, and then eventually I ended up on Kel'Thuzad because that was like a bit more balanced. Because I did want to, I was so heavy in terms of Alliance on the server that I eventually went to that like you never saw Horde. There was like no Horde in existence. So like the PvP was basically non-existent. So I ended up going over to Kel'Thuzad later on, and that was another PvP server that I think was a bit more balanced. They were kind of more known for some world PvP shit going on. So yes, the imbalance creates more imbalance for sure.
45-55 split, it would never stick. Back in the day, you see, the other faction could stop you from getting to your raid or your dungeon. Raid entrances were basically battlegrounds, and the smaller faction would obviously lose more often. And even if it was only a little bit, it would lead to a cascade, where a guild wouldn't get to raid, so it would go to a different realm, a realm where their faction is on the bigger side, the winning side. And without that guild, perhaps it would now be, instead of 45-55, 44-56. That makes it harder for others to raid, and soon it ends up being 43-57, and so on. What would happen is the tiniest imbalance would then snowball, and that would lead to a faction exodus. It seems that people in general don't like world PvP when it felt unfair. Now, Tom says something interesting happened at the end of the Burning Crusade, and that is that because of fighting over Sunwell dailies, most PvP realms were dominated by just one faction.
I talked about this.
As that happens, PvP realms are obviously...
How many times have I given you guys my my Isle of Quel'Danas stories about what's his name? Bridezilla. Broadzilla was actually his name. Broadzilla, the druid. The fucking Tauren druid who did absolutely nothing but just troll people on Quel'Danas, absolutely obliterating. He'd like come out of stealth in cat form, destroy you, and then disappear again. This was totally a thing. PvP on the Isle of Quel'Danas was absolutely insane. Trying to do your dailies to grind out your gold to get your flying mount was like a survival game on a PvP server. So like we eventually developed a tactic where we would do our dailies together. Me and my friends would log on. We were all Alliance, be 2 to 3 of us, and we would just group up and do dailies together because we wanted to be able to catch this guy and fight him off. And a lot of times that's what we did. We just end up getting into PvP fights while we were trying to quest. And damn, I have fond memories of that now. That was a really good time. I did not pre-watch.
To fix this problem, they eventually created War Mode. And then, in classic fashion, they made the same mistake right away. You see, initially they made sure that every shard had some Alliance and some Horde, by spreading everyone out evenly. But Horde players are in War Mode more often, so it ended up being massively imbalanced.
Right.
So to get around this problem, they went for a 40-60 ratio. And that still didn't work. So now, War Mode does everything that it can to make it 50-50. That means if there's a fight, it'll be even. And this is exactly why Season of Discovery had the forced faction lock at the very start. According to Tom, that actually worked, quote, stupidly well for being so simple. And in a way, that's not surprising, because often simple things really do work.
Sure.
Now, that's not the only reason why Tom is in the news, because Tom got a little spicy. When I say spicy, I'm referring to the plan to fix some of the MoP Classic Realm issues. And his solution is mega servers.
They're doing it. They announced it. This is happening. I don't know if they had announced it by the time he posted this, but they're merging all of the PvP servers onto one server, and they're merging all of the PvE servers to a single server. So there's only going to be 2 servers now for MoP Classic, which totally makes sense to me. I mean, in my optimal world, I wish we could just have one big mega server. I think that's what everybody wants at one point. Maybe the tech isn't there yet. But I would love to see retail WoW, just one big mega server, thousands of people in every city. I mean, that's what's fun about an MMO, is just seeing people everywhere. That's why I love outdoor world events, because it brings everybody to a certain zone and you feel like the server's super alive at that point. I wish we could play on mega servers. But I saw people were getting angry about this because they were losing their names. You know, there's like obviously multiple of the same name on different servers. So the merging, everyone's going to have to pre-pick new names and everything. I don't know, but I don't understand how people expect MoP Classic to continue if they're not going to merge the servers. That's ridiculous.
Issues. And his solution is mega servers. Basically, every server in each region will be sharded together. All PvP servers will become PvE and closed. They'll pick one PvE server and they will open free transfers to it. And that way, everyone will be playing together on one gigantic realm. Now, in the US, one PvP server will remain open, but they're going to be extremely careful with faction balance, and they're going to do that by opening and closing.
Probulus is the US PvP server. US is the only one that gets to do PvP. I don't know why they cut Europe out of this, like Europeans aren't allowed to PvP. I don't know what it is, but yeah, US is allowed to.
Transfers as needed. As for the EU, well,
EU has IRL PvP servers, I guess.
So PvP realms are just done. For non-English realms, they're going to have 3 mega servers, one for the French, one for the Germans, and one for the Russians. Crazy enough plan, but Tom says that it actually worked out for Season of Discovery and Anniversary. And I'll take the point that it seems to have worked, but my god, that makes for headlines. I will say this.
One day EU and NA servers will be mega servers. I wish, man. I wish we could play with the Europeans. I think it'd be great, and I'm sure the Europeans wish that too. And the thing is, like, okay, there were language barriers, but now with AI, I mean, with auto-translate everything, you could so easily just create a system where if somebody's playing in France and they're typing in French, it would show up on your screen in English. Like, I don't think that'd be a very difficult thing for them to implement at all. AI can quickly do that now. So the language barrier is no longer a thing. The thing is ping and all that. But if they can get server technology down to a point where ping isn't really a thing anymore, I think it'd be great to play on mega servers.
It does kind of seem like cleaning up for the sake of cleaning up, maybe not solving any immediate problems, but hopefully, well, Tom knows.
You do know the EU can speak English, right? I know, but I mean, it's not their first language, so if they don't want to play in English, maybe they got some pride, they don't want to play in no English speaking server, they don't have to. They could just have it AI translate shit.
That, they actually know the risks. But personally, I love it when WoW producers get to talk about all of this nitty-gritty stuff. So,
he speaks better English than us. That's probably true.
Happy to see the openness, happy to see the honesty. And if I was so perverted that I loved Dementius LFR, I'd be absolutely gutted about the next story. If you're avoiding Dementius and LFR, I really can't blame you, because it's a total shit show disaster.
I've heard.
And this week, Blizzard may have solved the biggest problem, and that basically is more nerfs to the first phase, and they really are gigantic. The mobs have got half the XP that they used to, and they dropped 3 gravity balls instead.
Well, look, the Europe should be very happy that the US was willing to create English and export it over there, right? I mean, that's the truth. So yes, they all speak English, but it's because of us they all speak English, right? Yeah, this is where this is where America created English, of course.
Of 2, so there's just going to be balls for everyone. And finally, Dementius doesn't get any hungrier. That means that standing in any pool is enough to stop you from dying. Then Phase 2 has also got some nerfs. The wall ads have lost 30% health.
I just don't get why we didn't call it American, personally, but whatever.
Before you die. And then there's one much-needed fix for all difficulties, and that is that for some reason, druids use their flight points to get around in Phase 2. That meant that they would need
Sir, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our skirt.
To have mounts on their bar just for that one boss. The good news is that Blizzard have finally fixed
this
that
LFR
up,
thing is
druids,
funny.
You can free up that keybind again. Now here's something absolutely gorgeous. Bayard Wu is WoW's principal illustrator, and he's just built different. He showed off 3 new portraits for Midnight. They're gorgeous. They're renditions of Lorthamar, Leodrin, and Orwena. They're incredible. And his key art has been just the hard carrying the aesthetics of WoW for a while now, and these are brilliant examples. And honestly, this isn't really news. I just wanted you guys to see them. As for the news, Well, Midnight Alpha is probably within the next few weeks. At Gamescom, we heard that Alpha was, quote, in the coming weeks. So, well, I suppose, the coming is any day now. And if you want to get ready for that and be caught up with all of the lore stuff that you need to know before then, good news! We made this video exactly just for you.
Nice little summary here from Bellular. And to go back on the touch back on the private servers and all that stuff, private servers will always exist. They'll always exist, just like little rats running around in the sewers. But once you've kind of made it a more difficult process, and people realize, as many people will, that a private server's longevity will always be in jeopardy. There will never be a world where private servers can just exist indefinitely. You will always get too big, and once you get too big, you will get, your end game is near. So with that concept in mind, the kind of people that'll play private servers will dwindle down, because eventually nobody wants to play an MMO where there's an end and you can lose everything that you put into it. So the free-to-play guys will always play the private servers because they don't want to pay to play the game. And then everyone else who wanted a rendition of Classic Plus, and they want a version of Classic Plus where their character actually continues on indefinitely, Blizzard is coming out with that soon. It's going to get announced at Gamescom in 2026 for sure. And all of the classic Andys can rejoice, hug, and finger pop each other all they want. Nice video from Bellular.